I acquired a scrapbook that was made by Joseph Henry Sharp's first wife. And I started reading that scrapbook and looking at the pictures and the things in there, and I learned that a lot of the things that had been said about Sharp were not true. So I said, I'll just correct all those mistakes. And so I drafted over a period of time. I started making notes on 5x7 cards. I didn't have a computer. And after I got about this many cards, I said, it's time to start writing the book. So I put the cards in chronological order, starting with time of birth and then up through his life. And I'd take those cards and I'd start writing, and all the information I got off the card, when I was through with it, I'd put it in the back and pick up the next card, and that's how I wrote my book. Drafted 85,000 words. I had some people, a couple of people help me because I didn't know what I was doing. And they would edit my work, and I didn't like the way they edited it, and I didn't like the way I wrote it. So I didn't know who was best, me or them, and I decided neither one of us was very good. So I fretted about that for a while. Went to see some people who were supposed to know what they were doing, and they did, but they wrote different from me. But I finally drafted 85,000 words. And I wrote it over, and I didn't like it, so I rewrote it, and I rewrote it, and I rewrote it 13 times. And I went from 85,000 words to 65,000 words. And I decided that it was a good encyclopedia, but it wasn't much fun to read. But I didn't know what else is there, So I said, okay, I'm gonna go with this. And I started acquiring transparencies of paintings, and I just filled it up. I tried to put the paintings in the book next to the text where I talked about the painting, and publishers didn't like that because they wanted to put all the color in one signature, and in the back of the book or in the middle of the book or someplace. And I learned that when I was talking about a painting, the picture of that painting would be 40 pages away or something, and I didn't like that, so I decided I didn't want a publisher. I'd just do it myself. And so I did that, and I lost a bunch of money. And it took 3,500 copies of that book, took 12 years to go out of print. I never did give the book to anybody to sell except my gallery. And my motive was to, if you wanted to buy my book, I want to know why you wanted to buy it. Did you have a Sharp painting? Does your mother have one? Do you want to get another one? Do you want to sell yours? In other words, it was not a one-dimensional thing to me. The book became an avenue for me. It got me in the front door so that I could talk to you about your collection. And I lost a bunch of money on the book, but I sure made a bunch of money on the paintings that were attracted by the book. And then 10 or 12, 14 years later, whatever it was, the book went out of print, and I looked down one day and Amazon was selling it for $750. I was selling it. It went out of print at $125. I started at $85. And I said, well, why don't I just revise the book, change all the color plates, correct a few mistakes that I made in the first book, and I redo it again. But I had destroyed the flats. And when I wrote the first book, it wasn't laid out in a computer. It was laid out by hand. You cut this and you paste it over there, and then you cut this and you paste it down there, and you change it around, and you have a big flat. This is a page. Then at the printer they make an aluminum copy, a burn of that page, and they print it. So what I had to do, I had a computer guy scan the book for me. And when he sent it to my computer, I said, "Good Lord, what is this?" You know, because the computer didn't know a difference between an a P and a Q or an I and something else. So I had to read every letter in the book and compare it with the copy over here. And it took weeks, many man hours. But I finally got that done, and I changed all the color plates and reprinted the book. I always do limited editions for myself and for people to buy if they want to, and I did that. And the revised edition of my book is called Teepee Smoke, and it's the only book that I ever wrote where I made any money. I had retired from the art business, so I wasn't as much interested in paintings as I had been. So I just sold a book. My daughter was working for me; she could ship them, and because most of the work had been done before, we did very well with that book. And my garage is still full of them, but I don't care. It's the thrill of the chase, right?